and we're going to review a new film that just came out, Polite Society. Really excited for this conversation. So, Zach, because you suggested it, would you like to kick it off?
Sure. Yeah. Polite Society is a movie that, we're getting some good movies. I've said this on our podcast. This is one that I would say it's a little bit on the heels of Everything Everywhere All at Once. It kind of has that Scott Pilgrim-y, Edgar Wright sort of approach to family comedy / martial arts movie. And it is set, I believe, in London. And the characters in the movie, the main character, her name is Ria, and she's played by Priya Kansara, and who I believe is on Bridgerton, which my wife has watched, but I don't remember seeing this actor on Bridgerton, but whatever. Ria's ambition in life is to become a stunt woman, and she idolizes this famous stunt woman named Eunice. So I'm not sure if the fights that she gets into are real fights or figments of her imagination. In a way, the movie's almost like a musical, because like in musicals, we're not really sure if people are actually singing or not. And I'm not actually sure if Ria is beating the shit out of these people or not. Sometimes it appears that way, but other times not so much. Anyway, as the movie goes along, we learn that she's in this family, and she has an older sister, and her older sister is getting wooed by this dashing guy. By the way, this is in the Pakistani community in London. And Ria is unhappy about this marriage, in part because she feels as though her sister will be forced to abandon her aspirations of becoming an artist and basically settle as, a housewife or mother. And so Ria takes it upon herself to, question the motives of this guy who apparently on the surface seems like a wonderful guy. I mean, he's like a medical student doctor, and he's very rich, and he's very good looking. But Ria kind of sees right through it. What I liked about this movie is I like that she's like a teenager, and she's got these really cool action moves, but she's also kind of like a little nerdy and unsure of herself. And I really like, there's about maybe a 35-minute stretch of this movie where she is the only one that recognizes that this family that they're marrying into are a bunch of phonies, and no one believes her. And she gets like, she gets punished for it. She gets sent to her room, literally. And she's still a teen.
You go to your room now, and you come home. You go to school. You come out when you go back to your room.
I like movies where everybody questions the sanity or logic of the main character, but the main character's right. It's in basically every Hitchcock movie ever made. And then this movie kind of goes into a big wedding. Now, I was thinking about this. I don't know if I would qualify Polite Society as a wedding movie, but basically the last 30 minutes take place at the wedding, and it kind of goes batshit crazy. Not as crazy as Ready or Not. This movie is very PG-13. I wish it had indulged a little bit more in the R rating. I'll give you a couple other minor critiques, and then I want to hear what you think about it, Adam. The story for this movie is not really a great story. It kind of feels at times a little bit like Get Out. Her skepticism about the family is reminiscent of Jordan Peele being in A Sunken Place. And the kind of payoff for that is a little too similar, I think, in some respects. But in a movie like this, I don't think you really care about that. I would also say my other big complaint is that the fight sequences, they're well choreographed, but for some reason this director is in love with, and this is where we can start talk about the Adobe part of our podcast. They're in love with like time remapping. So like it's like the Matrix effect, where it's like everything's going super, super slow. And this director does it so often that you can't appreciate the choreography and stunt work that goes into the fight scenes. At some point, you have to play it at normal speed or maybe speed it up a little bit. Why the constant slow motion? I'm not really sure, but it gets in the way of, I think, what are pretty cool action sequences. But by slowing them down, it doesn't make them look as cool or as complex or engaging. So that's the feedback I would give the director. But otherwise, I was smiling throughout this movie. I really enjoyed it. I think that the main actor, Priya Kansara, she is a star. She's tremendous in the movie. I love her. You watch her and it's like you cannot help but feel for her aspiration of becoming the stunt woman. You get into the story. I will say I nodded off for about 5 minutes somewhere in the first 30 minutes, but I don't think I missed a whole lot. It's a fun movie. It's maybe a little too long, and those kind of are rough edges around it. But I definitely enjoyed it. It's a solid thumbs up from me.
Yeah, nice. So you got 3 stars.
I would give it 3 stars. Yes.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. I thought there's some. It's like you said, rough around the edges. It's not completely maybe polished. There's things that I wanted to be improved, but overall, I had a really fun time with watching this movie. I definitely had a smile on my face. There was a lot of humor. I was able to watch this at the Grand Cinema over here in Tacoma with a handful of people, a super small crowd, and that kind of like that intimate setting was really made me just enjoy myself a lot more too. I think Priya is definitely in my top 5 acting performances this year for a lead actress. I think she has this quality about her that you want to see what she does next, I think. And even the sister who is played by Ritu Arya is also really good. I think a lot of the cast is really good and has really good charisma, and they pop off the screen there. I think what the director was how she was able to shoot the future husband of the sister, like the mom, that how they were able to shoot her. There was some really crazy shots with her, and I loved how what's the actress's name who played the mom here? I can't remember.
The mother-in-law.
The mother-in-law, yeah. Her name was Nimra Bucha. She just has this like really like aura around her that kind of reminded me of, we saw a movie with her in Renfield. I'm not Shoru.
Shoreig Dashlu.
Yeah, that was kind of like my comparison. That's what it's had she had very similar vibes of like those two actors. That's a pretty cool comparison, I thought. But I really liked her, and I liked how it was like this mix of fighting with younger going up against an older generation. The twist in here reminded me of some like Don't Breathe in a little bit, some of those like kind of horror vibe-esque themes. My big critique on the fighting was that it was kind of close. It felt like I felt really choppy at times. I wanted
tight shots. I agree.
Yeah, too many tight shots, and that's one thing that's kind of have a hard time with action films too, because once you get really tight, it's really becomes really choppy, and it's kind of gives you kind of a headache sometimes too. But overall, it's a really fun movie that I agree. Maybe it was a little long, but it was just thoroughly entertaining throughout, and I'm definitely out of 3 stars. And there's a couple like, if I'm already I get excited when we come up with a concept that we like the Almost Sideways Movie Awards. I'm already thinking like, oh my goodness, that the guy who played the guy that was wooing the sister who was wanting to marry her, that's definitely a big stick man of the year, plus also punchable like douchebag as well, like nominee. That's really cool. That the 2 friends of Ria was also like minor characters, like those were like really fun characters to watch. I thought some of their banter were just a lot of fun, and I Am Fury. So that's it was a really fun watch. I'm glad we picked this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think about this movie alongside Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I think it has a little bit of similarity to.
Yeah.
It's not as well made technically,
probably
not as big star power, and it's probably not as even imaginative. And yet it's a better movie, I think, because the story is better. It does not try to wow you or
complicated.
Right. Like, yes, the story is a little bit, it's sort of in there the story is there to bring out the characters, right? And their kind of unique personalities and their clashes, and of course the fight sequences. It's not trying to rewrite the whole book. And I wish more filmmakers would realize that. And I like that this movie, okay, it definitely has, like I said, the Edgar Wright sort of stuff. It has the Tarantino kind of titles. But it's not cynical. It's not satire. It's not trying to be an internet meme. It's trying to be a movie about someone who has a real like desire in life to become a stunt woman. And that was like the heart of the movie. It's not some bullshit about having, 2 rocks talk to each other or hot dog fingers. Okay. It's like grounded in enough reality to care enough about the characters so you can have fight sequences that are cool, even if they're maybe shot not as proficiently as other movies. But I don't know. I wish more filmmakers would take more time to draw out characters like this movie does, and let the other stuff kind of occur more naturally, not the other way around. Not try to infuse special effects and cutaways and Guardians of the Galaxy bullshit, and then come up with the characters and story later.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I also liked how it was such a unique kind of character for the character of Ria too. Like she wanted to be a stunt woman, which is it's like, no, if you're gonna get this internship at as a doctor. And she's like, I don't want to be like the traditional, like this is what we're supposed to be. Like I want to be something, my own person, a unique. I want to be a YouTuber and stuff like that.
That
too.
was kind of an odd element of the movie, that she would, I guess, sort of acquiesce to people who tell her that she's not going to be a stunt woman, but she would be so angry that her sister would have to give up her ambitions. I almost thought, like, what I wish the screenplay had been more about how Ria's life gets impacted, but maybe I don't know. Like, to me, there was maybe a way that could have conversed a little better. Like, it, to me, her response is like pretty crazy to be that enraged at this guy who's marrying her sister, and then to not focus on the people that are telling her she can't be a stunt woman. Like, that to me was a little bit of a hole in the story that it never really quite fixed.
Yeah.
But again, I like this movie because I like the characters and I like the performances. The story's not so great. But that's
I think that you can ignore certain elements because the other ones were maybe a little more heightened, a little better as well. And I do like how it was kind of a bonkers, like little plot at the end. It added this little, the big reveal happens, like, whoa, it completely takes like this left turn. And I was like, yep, this kind of has those Adam vibes on some of the crazy elements with the what was going on with the mother-in-law, the future mother-in-law, and the future husband there.
Yeah, and I thought those were underdeveloped and kind of silly, but they made for funny scenes, and they made for cool fight scenes. So
exactly,
in movies like this, you sort of like, again, is this movie going to win Best Picture? Probably not, even though, like I said, it's better than the reigning Best Picture. But it's entertainment, and it's fun, and it's light, and it's
it's a movie that's not on wide release either. So it's one that we definitely thought we should highlight here for Almost Sideways, and definitely go check it out, especially whenever it does get streaming. So hopefully it has that second life to it as well, because it is a fun watch, and I think the characters are so relatable that you can kind of put yourself in their shoes too. So